Hey, readers and writers.
Welcome to episode 108, Sense of Place. Oh, man. I kind of like snatched that. I just went
You
for
totally
it.
did. We could do it. I mean, I could just...
Let's just keep going. I'm Jocelyn.
And I'm Deb. And this is off to a great start. And this is our podcast about what we're reading.
What we're writing.
And everything in between.
Everyone can tell my eagerness about this. Oh, my Lord. But I'm going to wait before I dive in. How have you been, Deb?
I've been pretty good.
Nice.
I finally got through my writer's block.
Oh, yay! You were struggling with that.
Yes, I was. I tried all my tricks and then some new ones, and I finally got through it.
Do tell.
It was the mind mapping. Surprisingly, I don't know if it was just because it was a new tool and I was working through it from a different angle, but I ended up having to, I doubt I actually needed to use a mind mapping tool to use it, to figure it out. Like I probably could have done a paper or index cards or something. But what I ended up doing was basically kind of mapping out the rest of the book.
Okay.
Like, I knew where I started and I knew where it needed to end up, but I was missing, like, two pieces in the middle that I just couldn't figure out what was going on because I had added characters and removed characters in this is all within Tad's storyline.
Right.
And things just got jumbled and I couldn't find a clear path out of it again. So what I did is I mapped the stuff that came before it. I mapped up until where I knew the blank spot was. And then I started at the end and worked backwards. And that's how I found out I was just missing 2 chapters worth.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what's the most logical thing that goes in here? Like, how do we get from this point to this point? And then that worked.
That's
I don't know
awesome.
why it took me so long to get to that point, but just doing that, I was able to pull things together. And I wrote, I think that was like what, I have it written here somewhere. I think it was like chapter 13. I wrote chapter 13 in a record 2 morning sessions.
That's amazing. Lucky 13.
3,600 words, like 2 hours.
Oh, hell yeah. That's so encouraging to hear. And it's so nice that that tool that you had talked about and thought about using came through for you in the end. And like, sure, maybe you didn't need to use that tool, but I do think that introducing new tools, new resources, or like new technology can just help reframe the topic or the issue or whatever it is that you're looking at in a way that might shed light on the situation. Whereas like using older tools or older techniques that you've used or relied on in the past, it might not work as well for certain. Like this is a perfect instance in my mind of just like something new, kind of shaking it loose of it and revealing it.
Yeah, I probably could have done like say with like index cards, like I said before, but I'm pretty sure if I had laid it all out in index card format, I would have gotten overwhelmed by how like crazy messy my desk would have been at that point. Just the way knowing the way my own brain works.
Yeah.
Having it for some reason having it on the screen in front of me laid out. Well, they went up my street very fast.
Yeah. I thought it was me at first.
Nope. That was someone just gutted up my residential hill.
Good luck to them.
This is going to be a podcast for the ages because once again I have a raging thunderstorm outside.
Oh, yeah.
So there's thunder and rain. I forgot where I was going with that.
Oh, your messy desk and
messy
overwhelmed.
Desk, yeah.
Yes.
I get overwhelmed when things are messy. It's just part of my brain. Like if the house is messy, I can't concentrate.
Yes.
It's some weird mental block that I just haven't been able to deal with, haven't been able to get over. And like same with my writing desk, it has to be clean. So I know having laid out index cards or papers or whatever, I would have gotten overwhelmed and my brain would have shut down.
Yeah.
So for some reason, whatever, having it on the screen, having arrows in flowchart issue, I don't know, help pull it together somehow.
That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear.
I did it. Yeah.
Yay,
Chapter 13's
yes.
done. Now I got to do chapter 14.
Do you have at least an idea of, where you're going with that one?
Mostly. It's here in the middle of the book. I think it's like chapters, let's say 14 through 18. I'm cutting a lot of draft 1 out. Like draft 1, I know I want to use those things, but I don't think I want to use them in the same order that draft 1 was in.
Okay.
So I'm kind of snipping and rearranging and rewriting bits of them. Okay. So yes, I know what the goal of the chapter is, but I have deleted 2/3 of it. So I now need to write another 2,000 words to put it back together again.
Yeah, stitching it up.
Because what had happened was, I might have talked to him about it before. There's a character named Henry, and Henry used to be in the Kate chapters, but I moved Henry to the Tad chapter, so I had to cut all the Henry bits out.
Oh, okay.
And he was a big part of the middle of the book, so.
Oh, all right. I could see how that would. Yeah, that would really disrupt.
Yeah, he can't be in 2 places at once. That'd just be weird.
Well, I don't know. You do like to use magic in your books. So.
This is true. All right, so what's going on with Jocelyn?
Oh,
other than just being scatterbrained in a...
Yeah, all the things are happening. It's all happening, as they say in the wonderful movie Almost Famous. Just trying to get through the summer. It's been kind of a stressful summer already, and prepping for the fall. I work at a university, and so we're getting ready for being fully reopened. Masks now are optional for folks who are fully vaccinated. The distancing rules have been cut back, or I don't know, they basically don't exist anymore. So we're kind of trying to get ready for people to flood the campus. We're also going to have our largest incoming class ever. Whoa. So we're just prepping. They're doing a lot of construction to my library building, none of which actually benefits the library. It's all for other departments. Yeah, it's been pretty stressful, actually, physically and emotionally. It's been hard to get work done in the library. And honestly, it's been very difficult to see the library building, in our opinion, be destroyed. This is kind of a downer. Yeah. I mean, our building is this beautiful, open, 1970s Scandinavian vibe, light wood, lots of natural light. And they're building a lot of, they're sectioning off lots of chunks of it to make rooms for other departments. And it's kind of messing with the open, flowing vibe of the building.
Okay.
And it's very loud construction, not really taking our knowledge of the building usage into consideration, that kind of thing. People just don't really listen to librarians about our own spaces or our jobs. So yeah, it's just been kind of stressful. And, predictably, writing has kind of not really been happening, although I have been doing some research that has to do with our topic today. So, yeah. So I guess, research is also part of writing. So that's good.
It's at least working towards it. It's at least thinking about it and doing something.
Yeah. Trying to at least do a little bit wherever I can, even if I don't feel like I have a chunk of time where I can get my mind right and leave the stressors of my life, in one compartmental space mentally and be able to shift gears and turn to writing. That's usually takes me a little bit of time. I do need that adjustment time to be able to switch gears. And right now it's very difficult because it's hard for me to just relax, period, let alone be able to move that stuff aside and be able to get into a creative space. So researching is kind of a way to bridge that for me. If I'm not able to be if I can't be creative in the way I want to, then at least I can do all the support work, right? I don't have to really have the same type of creative mind to do research or brainstorm or do mapping and things like plot structure, which I don't do a whole lot of anyway in the beginning, as we all know. But yeah, those support things, at least I've been trying to get to. Yeah,
I find, I don't know, especially, I think, I don't know, any part of the year is stressful, but when I get into a particularly stressful part of the year, and I basically have to sometimes drop my writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important for me to just touch base with it. Like you said, like you're doing research on it, and just at least for me, I just need to like at least touch base, like think about it.
Yeah.
Like before I go to bed, think about what needs to happen next in the story. So I'm not dropping it 100%.
Yeah.
Because I'm the kind of person that if I don't think about it, it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
It just full stop, and it's hard to get back to it.
I agree.
It's kind of like when you exercise every day and then you get hurt and you can't for a while, and then you just lose that habit.
Yes.
And then it's hard to get restarted.
That's a very good comparison, actually, because they're, after coming off of this very extended time of not writing, it is significant the amount of effort I have to put in to get back into a writerly mindset, and the repetition and practice, very much like exercising. You do have to train both your mind and your body to like sit down, get in the right headspace, and then do the actual work. So and Lord, whenever I take time off of running, that first run again, it's a doozy.
Yes, I get that. There was a while where I was working out every day, sometimes for like 2 hours, just total. Especially at the beginning of the pandemic, where I needed that as like a stress relief.
Yeah.
But then, like, predictably, like, I busted my knee and I couldn't do it for a while. And then just getting back into the habit of it is so hard.
It's so hard.
And it's the same with writing. And I just have to remind myself to be kind to myself, that it's okay. You're thinking about it. You haven't completely abandoned it. It's okay to take this breathing stress time because you need it to do other things. That writing's important to me, but you know what? Feeding the kids, more important. There's some things that you just have to let go so you can do something else. Or even just like take care of yourself. Like it's okay to say, I can't write today because I'm too stressed out. I just need to turn off my brain and do something else.
Exactly.
As long as you don't do that every day for a month.
Yes. Yeah.
You at least need to keep touching base with, or at least for me, if I'm talking about the story, like if I'm in that phase where I just can't actually do it, I need to be thinking about it at least a couple times a day just to keep my brain connected to it.
Yeah. And there are a few stories that I put down years ago that I had always intended to pick back up. And I do still have all of my notes, all of my drafts, all of my documentation that has to do with those stories. And I look at them and I'm like, this feels so overwhelming now to try to pick these up, because there is so much here, and I am so mentally detached from this story and from what I was even thinking about in regards to these stories, that like I don't even know. At this point, I'm probably just gonna start over completely with both ideas, and because I don't know how I'm gonna be able to dive back in.
I agree with that. It's just a starting over aspect, because I find when I do that to stories, like there's a couple short stories that I loved that I didn't finish. I knew where they wanted to go. I just, I didn't have time at the time to write them. Like I let them go, and I go back and read them and like, wow, this is really good. I should keep doing this, but I have to start over because I've lost the tone.
Yeah, the tone. Yeah.
The tone is really important. And for what you think it'd be something you could just pick back up again, but for whatever reason, I can't.
Yeah.
Like I've just completely lost the tone. So it's better to just scrap it and start over so you don't get that jarring tone break.
Yeah, definitely.
Where the reader starts out thinking they're going to read one type of story, and it's not, because you couldn't keep the tone. Like it's not as lighthearted as it used to be. It's not as...
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's suddenly got more serious or something, you know?
Yeah,
and lost the whimsy.
Especially the time of life when you're writing something has a huge effect on what you write and the tone of what you write. So if you're starting something, like let's say 5 years ago, and then you take a 4-year break and then you pick it back up, it's very likely you're going to be in a completely different place in life. And that is going to drastically change how whatever story you're writing sounds and acts.
You're basically a different person by that point.
Definitely. All of your cells, no, not all of them. How long does it take? Like 7 years for your cells to like regenerate or something?
I have no idea.
Half of your cells are gone and different now. I don't know.
You're physically a different person.
Yeah.
You're Theseus's ship.
I just took a sip of water.
Did I make you snort water out your nose? The ship of Theseus. I bring it up only because I just recently bought a copy of the J.J. Abrams project, The Ship of Theseus.
Oh, I have not heard of it.
I hadn't heard of it either, but... Okay, Jocelyn knows this about me, but I end up adding easily half a dozen books to my Amazon cart every now and then. And like sometimes I'll shoot her out a text saying, help. I just added 6 books to my cart and I don't know what to do.
I'm no help here because I'm going to just tell you to buy them.
Yeah.
Just hit buy.
That's pretty much exactly what happened. And I turned to my husband. I'm like, what do I do? And then I stumbled across this project. I call it a project because J.J. Abrams apparently had this idea for a book, but he's no writer, so he commissioned it out to somebody else, like working closely with them to create this project. Mm-hmm. It's very meta. It's very House of Leaves.
Ooh, okay. Interesting.
It's not just a book. It's a whole series of printed projects. Like the theory is it's a book called The Ship of Theseus, written by this guy. And apparently he was very reclusive. And the novel you get is the novel written by this guy, air quotes, who was written by this fictional author that another author actually wrote. But anyways, but apparently within the novel is like his own personal beliefs about an assassination. And people always think that he was involved in some kind of assassination plot, I guess. Okay. I'm taking this all from the synopsis. I've purchased it. It is not going to arrive till the end of August.
Oh, wow.
I don't have it yet. Yeah, I haven't read it. So apparently this book is I don't know, scholars think that he was actually writing out his own assassination plot.
Oh.
To kill this other person or whatever. So there's a lot of scholarly debate about it. Okay. But you're going to enjoy the next part. Mm-hmm. What you're getting is the library copy of this book.
Oh my God.
Where
did people write in the margins?
Yes. where an undergrad librarian and a postgraduate student have a conversation in the margins.
Oh my God, I love this.
About his theories about the book. And there's postcards and maps and handwritten letters inside the book. Like you open it up and it's like, it's a project. It's not just a book. It's also other media inside it.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm so excited about it.
It was
really
so
hard
happy
to find a copy. It was like from like 2013 or something.
Wow.
I've never heard of it.
No, I hadn't either. What an interesting under the radar project for him to do.
Seriously. So I managed to find a copy. And I won't get it till the end of August.
It's such a shame that neither of us had known about this when it actually came out because we were still living close together at that time. Mm-hmm. And we could have worked on it together. Yeah. It would have been a perfect book club pick for us.
But I thought for sure you would love the part about the undergraduate librarian and the postgraduate student, and they never actually apparently meet. They're just talking through the margins of the books and all the inserts they put into it.
I love that so much. I had a mini version of that happen to me. It was more of like a coincidence, but I checked out a book when I was in grad school from our public library system, and it was for my young adult literature class. So it was a YA book, and as I was reading this library copy, someone had gone through and they'd done notations in the margins and just like their thoughts, like their general commentary on what was happening. And so it tickled me. Like I loved that. I thought it was super fun and cute. And like I agreed with the commentary. So it was kind of like, yeah, I agree with you. This is great. And so then about a year later, I started working with a woman in that same library system. And we were just kind of shooting the shit one day in the back office. And I was talking about this book and she's like, yeah, I really liked that book when I read it. And I was like, you know what? The coolest thing happened to me when I read that book. I had a library copy. It had these notations and like, this is what they said. And she was like, that was me. That was I checked that copy and I wrote those notes. Yeah, it was really cool. It was super fun. What a fun coincidence. I just love stuff like that. It makes me very happy.
Mm-hmm. That is very, very fun and awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, I identify with you now.
Yeah. Like, I already knew I liked her. Like, we clicked really well when we were working together. But then that really was just like, well, we had all the same opinions about this book. And, like, your notations really, like, rounded out the experience for me. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. I forgot how we got onto this topic.
Me too. But shall we move on to our sense of place?
Like, I'm trying to work it back in my head, but yeah, let's just cut here and go on to sense of place.
Perfect. Well, I mean, I think I've already talked about it enough.
Wait, I have one more thing to ask you about your personal life.
Sure.
How is your summer of Crichton going?
Oh, yes. I was hoping that, you know what? I even like made a note on my notes here to be like, bring up Summer of Crichton. Well, I have completed Timeline.
Yay.
It was fine. I gave it 3 stars out of 5. I enjoyed the setting. I enjoyed the sense of place. It takes place in 14th century France. That's right. And that was really cool. That was fun. And at the same time, I was also listening to a podcast about the Black Death. So that also, like, they coincided.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool to have that synergy. But I did enjoy it. It was okay. I actually think I liked Eaters of the Dead better. Weirdly enough.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Timeline was just a little like, I don't know. It just kind of wanted to. The plot didn't have enough arc for me. There weren't enough like emotional stakes, I guess. But I think I'm gonna move on to Congo next.
Okay.
So we'll see if I get through that one. I have a lot on my TBR list, of course, but I do have a semi-vacation coming up, although I'm not really sure how much time will actually be my own on this vacation. I'm going to be at the whims of other folks, so hopefully I'll...
It sounds like a destination wedding or a family reunion.
A little of both, actually. It's kind of a family reunion, and then I'm jumping from that right to a bachelorette party up at Lake George. So,
okay.
Yeah. It'll be fun, but like I said, the time won't really be my own. But I will be bringing Congo, just in case.
I recently read a quote. I think it was a Twitter quote. Like, I think somebody said it on Twitter or something, which, I don't know, could it be a quote? Anyways, yes. So I have it was something like, nothing is more optimistic than a mom who brings 3 books on a vacation.
Oh my God, I bet.
That reminds me of what you just said.
Well, yeah, I did bring a stack of books with me to the beach when I went to the beach a couple weekends ago, and didn't even crack one of them because we were there for a birthday party. So again, like, didn't really have a lot of alone time, but I did bring them.
I'm always the optimistic one. I always at least have a book with me, and then I never touch it.
Yeah, but at least it's there. At least it's there, just in case. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go actually back to sense of place.
All right. Well, everyone knows this is a big deal for me because I've said it 1,000 times. Like, sense of place is where I begin when I write. I get inspired by settings, by places I've been, by...
How do you start?
What do you mean by how do I start?
You said it's the beginning for you. How do you start building a sense? Like, what is it for you that triggers that for you?
It's usually like a daydreaming situation or something that I realized I've been thinking about a lot, or I go somewhere and I feel like a connection with the place, or I feel like a very strong vibe coming off of the place and it intrigues me, or it starts to just take up a lot of my mental space and I want to like play around in it, I guess. So then I just kind of start mentally existing in that setting, in that place for a while, and I let my mind wander a lot, and from there, characters, plot ideas, story ideas, they'll just kind of start to pop up a little disorganized, and then the more I do a lot of daydreaming at the top. I do a lot of just like thinking, and that's kind of when like music will come in, or I will use my Pinterest to do kind of like vision boards, things like that. Maybe I'll even do a little bit of that initial research if it's a place that I actually haven't really spent a lot of time in. Like, for example, New Mexico is a state that really captures my imagination and I feel drawn to it, but I've only been there once. So, you know, if I want to write a story in New Mexico, I will probably do a little upfront research before I start to like daydream about characters and or specific setting or plot or, you know, things like that. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it is a lot of like head in the clouds kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, setting really grabs me like right away. Like, that's the thing. Like, I really want to spend time in a place that intrigues me, that reacts and interacts, or that interacts with my characters and my characters can react to, and they shape my characters. And they are, like, the setting is a character, usually in my mind. And I like stories that employ that, and books that kind of do that. And like, I have a few titles here that of books that I can mention later that I think do a good job of this, of having the setting as a character.
Pure and Easy. That a book I talked about a couple podcast episodes. Pure and Easy. The setting was the place was absolutely one of the characters.
That is a perfect example. Yes, and I would say Erin Morgenstern's most recent one too.
Yes, the Starless Sea.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. That one, she really like taps into the idea of setting.
I can totally see that as the library being being one of the characters. Yeah.
I think she does it well with Night Circus too. She's pretty good.
I have less clear memories of that one.
I would like to reread that, actually. Been thinking about it a lot.
I keep thinking I'm going to reread things, and then I just get busy, or I find another book that I want to read. And
There's so many other books. Books we haven't read yet.
I know. I have a lot of things on my reread list, but I always have the best intentions, but I never actually get around to rereading them a lot.
Same.
You know it's good if I reread it, basically.
Yes, definitely. So I think you've mentioned this before, but like setting is like not really a big deal to you. Is that true? Like, do you not, you don't start with setting your...
I say setting isn't a big deal to me, but it's not what starts the idea for me.
Okay. When does setting come into your process?
It depends on the story. The one I'm writing right now, setting is a very big deal to it, which that is kind of not... Actually, no, two I'm writing right now actually the setting is a big deal. I might have to backtrack on that a bit. But it's not generally what comes up first. The first thing that starts for me is probably a combination of the person and the character and the plot.
Okay. And then you kind of think of the setting that would match that.
Right. Yeah, like I like say, for example, the sci-fi one that is currently on my back burner, but I say I'm currently writing it, air quotes. It's not the main focus at the moment, but if I need a break, I'll go and work on it.
Sure.
Which is the beauty of writing 3 stories at once.
Absolutely.
But like, for example, using that one as an example, I knew I wanted to be science fiction, and I knew generally how the plot was going to go, and I think what started at first was the idea of the plot, like two very like a new love getting separated.
Okay.
And then the characters trying to work back to each other and then finding out it doesn't actually fit. And I knew I wanted to be science fiction, and then once I knew that and I knew the general scope of how it was happening, then I searched for a place to put it in.
Yeah.
Search for something that would fit.
That is such a cool way to start that idea, too, to have, like, lovers separated and then they have to work their way back to each other, because you get to potentially, I don't know what direction you've gone with this one, but you could make them go through all different kinds of settings and obstacles, and, like, it could be really fun.
Yeah. Hopefully. They haven't gone through much in my head. It's a journey. I think the story itself is more of one of a personal growth versus actual physical distance. But yes, they do go through some pretty interesting settings in my head.
Okay. That's very cool. That's fun. I like
Thanks.
that.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite setting that you like to work in? Is there something that like you're gravitated to more, or it doesn't matter, you're ready to play around in any kind of place or setting?
I like science fiction, but we all know I read science fiction, I read fantasy. I find myself drawn to the science fiction aspect of it. But the story I'm working on now, the Tad and Kate one, that was always a setting that I kept coming back to, that I wanted to do something in that because it was important to me. It was close to where I grew up. It was it's a low fantasy story, but set in rural Pennsylvania. Because that's where I grew up. I had never seen anything like that. And I kept wanting to find something like that. So I don't know, maybe I could identify with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I kept looking for it. So it was important to me, and then I couldn't find it. So I was like, fine, I have this idea. It works here. So I've set it there.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I'm doing right now too. I wanted something set in the Finger Lakes. I just, I love upstate New York. I love the Finger Lakes. I'm like borderline obsessed with the Finger Lakes. And I just wanted more content set up there. And I wasn't really finding it as much as I wanted. So I was like, well, then I will write that. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff that takes place in upstate New York. A lot of stuff that I love that takes place in upstate New York. And I'm always looking for anything that is set up there. But it's usually like, the Southern Tier. There's plenty in the Southern Tier, or, what most people consider upstate New York, which is Southern New York, close to the city. It's like, oh, it's not the city, therefore it's quote, upstate New York. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, no, friends. Even where I'm from is not really upstate, it's not close to the border.
When I was younger, I thought that downstate and upstate was literally like a lateral definition. Like upstate was like up towards the Canada border, and think. Downstate was like the PA border. Like when I didn't understand that.
Yeah, it is a weird.
And then I got offended when they're like, "What? Do people in the city just think that everything else is upstate?" That's really offensive.
It's frustrating because like each chunk, New York is not a small state. And each region has its own identity. So, we like it to be correct when people refer to different places, just like any state, I think, probably has that feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what inspired me too. I wanted to play around in a setting that I was familiar with, that I adored, and that I didn't really see a lot of in books or stories. So yeah, that's what inspired. Well, that was part of the impetus for my current project that I'm working on.
Yeah, and the story I'm working on, it's specifically rural, like it's country, like it's a very small towns. And I mean, you see that a lot in fantasy, but it's all like Southern. And nothing against that, but that I feel like it's very different from like a Pennsylvanian rural.
Yes, or a New York rural,
like a Georgia. Yeah, true. I mean,
yeah, they're different.
I'm talking about like a North PA, so it's very interchangeable.
Yeah,
just like the countryside and the way people act. But like, I don't know. I couldn't find anything that matched what I wanted to consume.
I really like small town stories too, just in general. I like that setting a lot because I grew up in a very small town. It wasn't super rural. It was very much the definition of a small town. I mean, if you went if you drove 5 minutes outside of like my downtown or just the town, it's rural. It's cornfields and whatnot, and woods and service roads, etc. But then like in 20 minutes, you do get to the next like kind of larger town where you can go to Walmart and whatever. But yeah, you can get real rural real fast if you want to, where I grew up. And I just, people will describe it as like the kids on bikes genre, where kids are jumping on their bikes in the summertime and they're off to find adventure, you know, kind of like Stephen King's The Body, like that sort of thing.
Goonies.
Yes. Oof,
That's immediately what I thought
that.
too when you said kids on
Yeah,
bike.
that's exactly. Goonies is the perfect example, and I absolutely love that. And it always feels best when it's set in a small town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Unless it's the never-ending story.
Oh, never-ending story. Oh my God. Oh, yes. I love Never-Ending Story. It's been a long time.
Sorry. Kids on bikes, but it isn't set in a rural setting or small town. I think it's set in like New York City or something. But anyways, yeah, off track.
I definitely have to revisit. It has been a very long time since I have indulged.
It's been a super long time for me, and I still can't watch it. I am mentally scarred by that wolf.
I mean, yes, I completely understand.
Still, my main fear as an adult is werewolves because of that stupid wolf. I know, it's completely ludicrous. But
well, I just have to warn you, like, werewolf fiction is definitely on the rise. So, like, get ready for more werewolf stories.
Well, I can handle like the Omega ones, like where like yeah, I've read those. I can handle those. It's the movies. I cannot handle a moving image of a werewolf. It does things to me. Like some base instinct. I am terrified. I'm like 5 years old again watching the Neverending Story. I don't know how old I was when I watched the Neverending Story, but I can't watch it, and I can't let my kids watch it for fear that does the same to them.
Yeah. Well, it is a very intense movie. Like, people are greatly affected by that movie in one direction or another. Like, it's like kind of a heartbreaking tale, and like, yeah,
there's so many adult themes.
so many. It's way more adult, I think, like, than we realized watching it as children. Obviously, we didn't realize, but looking back on it now, it's like, damn, that's intense.
Yeah.
So
the whole horse thing. Nothing. I was babbling. Go on. Ask your question to get us away from the topic.
I have another question for you. Do you ever have to do research for any of the settings that you kind of like write and play in? Or do you try to just... Oh, okay.
Some of them I do. Like, some of them kind of like weirdly evolve. Like the third of my stories that I pick up and put down again all the time is set in, I guess, like an alternate universe, Russia.
Oh, that is very cool.
Yeah, it's around the Ural Mountains.
Okay.
Ural? Am I pronouncing that right? I think I'm pronouncing that right. Ural?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Maybe Ural. Anyways, it's up near the Arctic Circle. So I've had to do a lot of research on that one. Yes. And my sci-fi one is set on the moons of Saturn. So obviously I've never been there. Had to do some research.
Oh man, I wish. That's fun.
But yeah, I have to do a lot of research. The only one I really haven't had to do a lot of research on is the one I'm currently writing now, the rural Pennsylvania one, because it's all in my head. I know this place,
of course, like
the back of my hand, because I grew up in it or I've made it up.
Yes, yeah. So you're in full control.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've been doing a little bit of research for my current project. Just like, I mean, a lot of it is just for fun for me too, because like I said, I'm pretty obsessed with the Finger Lakes. But, you know, I did research on different lake monster legends that we have in the area. And the one that I was really working on recently were the salt mines that are up in Tompkins County. Because I lived a lot of my life not even knowing that they were there. And then discovered they were there when I, you know, later as a teen. Always thought it was kind of weird that we had salt mines. They're one of the like largest producing mines in the country. It's kind of a big deal.
I've only vaguely know them. I don't know. I know basically nothing about them other than they exist.
Yeah. It actually goes under Cayuga Lake.
Really? They're that deep?
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It is wild.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. And actually they made national news, I think in like either 2015 or 2016. And this is just from my memory. So this was super weird. I'm in Pittsburgh. Cast my mind back to like either 2015 or 2016. I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm in the building where I'm taking grad school classes, and I'm in like the lobby where there's a TV with the news running. And usually I would just sit there and watch the news for like, 5 minutes before I had to go to class. And at the time it was like very stressful because it was about the presidential election. But then it like switched to like this news bulletin about miners trapped in a salt mine in Lansing, New York. And I was like, holy shit, that's where I'm from. Like, like I'm not from Lansing, but like I'm from one of the small towns in that area. And I was like, that's our mine. Like, what's going on? And luckily it was resolved pretty quickly and nobody was hurt as far as I can remember. But I should probably look that up again and just like refresh my memory on what actually happened. But yeah, I mean, I find that fascinating. I find the fact that we have mines fascinating. They've been there for like 100 years. And I just really want to write a horror story in these salt mines. So right now, like I said, my brain's not really firing on all creative cylinders. So I'm just trying to do some research and gather information. I've never been in the mines. So although I wonder if I...
Do they let you take tours?
I don't know. I don't think so because it's active, but I wonder if I just like asked.
Yeah, like just do like the whole like, hey, I'm an aspiring author and I'm writing a story that involves these mines. Can I get a tour?
Yeah, who knows?
Do you mind if I just like look and stand here and smell?
Yeah.
And just figure out what's gonna like how this feels.
And that is apparently the thing is like you're just constantly tasting salt the entire time you're down there, and you just get covered in like a fine salt powder, and just salt is everywhere. And that would be kind of cool to experience. But I think I might know some folks who work in the mines, so I might be able to like reach out and just ask some questions to see what their working day is like, and the things that they really like about working in the mine, the things that annoy them about working in the mine, like that kind of thing. Maybe some things that folks like wouldn't ever expect about salt mines, like what's the weird stuff, or like what are the surprising things,
right?
To me that's everything, because like I just don't think about salt mines that often. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to do a little legwork on that, but I really want to write a story in the mines. They're so cool, and you look up pictures of them, like the salt mines look really cool, so we'll see what I can do.
That would be fun. To me, it would definitely be, we're talking about sense of place, but for me, something like that would be sense of smell. Like my husband says I have a really sensitive nose, so when I think of sense of place, scent is always a big part of it.
I agree. Same for me. It is important, especially...
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, especially when I'm thinking about places that are important to me emotionally, like the lakes. Right. I can still recall the smell of what the lakes smell like, and the way that, and that just the particular, like, I don't think I could describe it necessarily. I'm going to have to work hard to figure out how to describe it. Yeah, because it's kind of gross and refreshing at the same time. But yeah, stuff like that, or like my grandma's lake house specifically, I can remember how that smells.
How does it smell like we have a particular place in our house that I constantly bring up in stories because it's very strong. Like you walk in the front door after a hot day and you just smell like warm wood. I don't know how to describe it other than wood that's been baking in the sun.
Oh, that's a good smell.
Under the sun's heat. But that's how I picture like a cabin, like you said, like your grandma's lake house.
Yeah.
That's immediately what my brain would say, oh, that's probably smells like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important to try to embody that, I think, when we write, because they say sense of smell is one of our strongest memories. We can attach smell to things and make that connection in our brain pretty easly. And so if we can master communicating that in our work, then that can become a really amazing tool for us to, just like reach out to our readers or inspire a reaction or a connection in our readers to what we're writing about.
This reminds me, I have a really awesome gift idea for you.
Oh.
Well, unbeknownst to you, I dabble in candle making.
Oh my God. And you know how much I like candles.
Yes. So ever since we were talking about candles that smell like books, I've been thinking about making you a candle that smells like your short story. I've been compiling these scents.
Wait, you did ask me like
I did
weeks ago, like what scents? And I was like, well, weed, burning wood, like sewage.
I haven't put them together in an actual smell, but I'm like compiling like, okay, this is the pot smell. This is the firewood smell. Yeah. There's a little bit of cut grass. I can't find the algae though. The algae that's the elusive one. I can't find a fragrance oil for algae.
No, it's
but
just
I've got woods. I've got grass. Grass is kind of like a bright summery scent, and I've got a really potent pot that I have to put in just like a little bit of.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. So I have this really awesome idea for a present for you. So it'll help you write. Excited. You can light it, and then it'll help you write.
Absolutely, yes, that would help me write. And actually, to add to all of that, because the short story I've been really actively working on, that might actually become a long story, because I feel like I'm gonna just want to exist in that. I want to give the character more time. I want her to like
that's
evolve
always exciting.
More. Yeah, patchouli is a smell really that like has been helping me with her specifically.
Okay.
So and that's because this short story takes place in Ithaca, and patchouli is the smell I associate with Ithaca, New York, and she very much is an Ithaca
I don't know if
girl.
I associate with Ithaca, but I definitely associate patchouli with hippies, and I associate hippies with Ithaca, so it's like a Kevin Bacon effect for me.
Oh yeah, couple removed there, but I mean, you walk into a lot of boutiques in Ithaca, and you're just gonna get punched in the face with patchouli,
unless you're going to my favorite bookstore. And then it's just
Autumn
old
Leaves.
Books. Yes.
Oh, love Autumn Leaves. We're gonna go when we go visit my mom. Actually, that's like the one thing that Mark and I want to do is go to Autumn Leaves, and then there's a record store below Autumn Leaves
in their basement.
Yes, Angry Grandma, I think, or something like that.
It's actually part of Autumn Leaves. Like it's them too.
Yeah, and they have a lot of gems in that record store. So we're really excited to spend some time and some money there.
That's the problem. The last time I went into Autumn Leaves, I got, I think, 2 copies of books I already own. I got another copy of The Handmaid's Tale, and I think I got a Brian Froud sketchbook book. And I think I already owned it. But I just like, nope, I have to have these. I have to own this other copy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is nice to have like special editions that feel close to you. Or like, for example, and this is starting, we're starting to just talk about like fun things that we love now. But
we've lost sense of place. We will come back.
Yeah, it's okay. The Shirley Jackson book, well, actually all of Shirley, We've Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House. Both of those books have the most fabulous cover art for like a lot of their editions. So I could see myself just buying as many different editions of either or both of those books as I could find, because damn, the cover art is so cool and like gets at different aspects of those books in different ways. Like I love looking up just like, Google search image, all the different cover art. It's great.
To tie this all together, going back to Autumn Leaves, one time I went there and got a copy of a book I already own, but it had the right cover art. I'm collecting, it's a Guinevere trilogy, and there's like this cover art from the late 80s, early 90s. It's like paper quills.
Okay.
I think sort of. I don't think it is paper quills, but it reminds me of paper quills. But they released the series, the trilogy in that style, and I already had 2 of the books, and I found the other one at Autumn Leaves.
Yay! Autumn Leaves is a blessing. There's also a cafe in there, right?
I think so. I think it's in the upper balcony or something.
Yeah, there's like a little loft situation. It's a wonderful place, folks.
We never eat there because we've always gone to that tapas place first, or immediately are going to the tapas place afterwards. But yeah,
that place is awesome. Yes. I love their steamed pork bun situation. Really good.
I love their summer zucchini.
Oh God, I just had some summer zucchini. Okay, now we're just like getting
Yes,
all
but
right.
did you have
okay.
summer zucchini with Asiago cheese and pecans and brown butter?
I didn't. No. Oh, God, I miss Ithaca so much. Folks, go to Ithaca. If you want a nice low-key summer vacation, go to Ithaca. That's all I have to say. All right, so I do have another question.
Going back to our original topic.
Are there any books or movies that jump out at you at having a strong sense of place or setting?
I was actually going to ask you a sort of similar question. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
That's okay.
How about you share, and then if I remember something, I'll jump in.
Sure.
I'm trying to think, and my brain's just racing through things. I can't really stop on one.
I do have a list.
Okay, go for it.
I do. Well, I think I have mentioned like recently that I feel like Tana French does a really good job with her sense of place. Like most of her books actually all of her books take place in Ireland. And usually the setting and the community that is built up around that setting, which is usually formed by that setting, are very like, those two things are very tightly intertwined. And she does a really wonderful job at kind of fleshing those out and making them very strong. And the setting becomes a character itself because the setting is part of the community that the story takes place in. So I always like her work in that realm, but okay. I also, so one of my favorite books of all time is The Elementals by Michael McDowell. And he wrote Beetlejuice, the script for Beetlejuice. Whoa. And he also wrote the script for Nightmare Before Christmas. So that's
nice. That's a nice resume.
Yeah. And he unfortunately died way before his time. I could be very wrong about this, but I think it was AIDS. But his collection, his body of work it's there, but it's not as substantial as it would be if he had lived a longer life. But it's all so good, both his screenwriting and his fiction prose. So The Elementals takes place, I believe, in Alabama, or maybe it's Arkansas. I can't remember. It's on the Gulf Coast.
Sense of place, Jocelyn.
I know. Well, it's on the Gulf Coast. It's very hot and just oppressive and not really like a wonderful vibe, but that's intentional. Like you want to feel unsettled for this entire book. And the main thing about this book is like sand is a big issue. And we all know sand is an issue. Like you go to the beach, you get sand everywhere. It's awful. But in this book, the sand is like almost, it's like paranormal. And it is kind of a sign of some of the elementals. I don't know how much folks know about like what elementals are or what they're purported to be. But they're kind of like spirits in a way. It's more complicated than I really want to dive into right now, but this is basically a ghost story, and it is one of the most haunting, just intense, like amazing ghost stories, like haunted house stories I've ever read. And a lot of that is because of the setting, because the setting is wrapped up in the haunting. It is the haunting. The setting is haunting this family, and it's just really good. I love it so much. That might be one that I reread, hopefully, whenever I reread. But other ones, just like quickly, I really liked The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, where she writes, basically, it's New York City. The whole book, it takes place in New York City, and she literally makes the city characters. Each borough has an avatar, a human avatar that represents that borough and has special powers that are indicative of that borough and kind of are created through the culture and history of that borough. And they use those powers to fight this larger kind of cosmic existential evil. And she draws a lot on Lovecraftian horror, and this book actually is a direct response to Lovecraft's work. So she takes the city and makes it legit characters and puts them together in like this kind of fun superhero team, and then they have to go battle eldritch terrors. And it's
sounds
great.
awesome.
It's really good. It's so much fun. And then another one that I read recently is Children of Chicago by Cynthia Pelayo, and that is, it's kind of a crime dark fairy tale horror mashup, and Chicago really is such a strong character in this book. And Sina,
I find myself just nodding along. I'm forgetting I'm on a podcast and I should be saying like,
oh, it's fine. Sina's from, or she lives in Chicago. She's from Chicago, and she loves Chicago, and her like love, her complicated relationship and her complicated love with the city, it comes through so strongly in this book. And it's, you know, it's wonderful. It's great. I've never been to Chicago, unfortunately, other than being in the airport. So hopefully I'll get there one day. But I definitely felt a strong sense of place when I read Children of Chicago.
That's awesome.
There's another
book
one
you've never been to can evoke that in you.
Yeah, like I felt it very strongly. And I mean, I have talked about that book on this podcast before, but I think I did anyway. Maybe I didn't. But it's really good. Her writing is absolutely fabulous. But another one that just came out that I haven't gotten my hands on yet that reminds me of you, Deb, because now this was something I definitely wanted to talk to you about. Okay. So I will talk about this book, and then I'm going to get into the reason why it reminds me of you. So Josh Malerman, who wrote Bird Box, just released a series of novellas that have been bound into one volume called Goblin. And they're a bunch of interconnected stories that all take place in the same city called Goblin. And they have different characters. They kind of cross over from story to story, but they're all separate novellas, but they are related and pulled together by this city. And the city is very much intended to be a character and to be alive in both, like, you know, both literal ways and metaphorical ways. And, you know, just like it's very interesting. And so
I have to write this down, Goblin.
Yeah, it has a really cool cover too. Yeah, I can't wait to pick it up and read it. But the reason that reminded me of you was because of your dreamscape that you talked about. Yes. Your dream setting and landscape where you were thinking about doing exactly that, you know, like having all of these different storylines and stories.
But all in the same universe with the one unifying background character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was like, you know what? That is an example of where, in my opinion, a sense of place is very important to you, is in your dream city.
Dream city. Yeah. That's not a bad name for it. Dream, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's a great name for it. It would just disappointed to know that I haven't gotten very far with that, though. I was so excited with breaking through the writer's block. I haven't gotten.
I know. Well, you know, ride whatever wave you're on. You know, don't waste that inspiration.
I've been thinking while you were talking and while I was nodding silently along, and forgetting I was on a podcast and should be talking. I feel like, I don't know, 90% of the books I read, I agree with their sense of place, like it fits the book. But the one I'm currently reading right now stands out a lot, that the sense of place is part of the story. Other than Piranesi, I've talked about that already. That is a perfect example of it. Right now I'm reading, what is the name of it? The Space Between Worlds.
Ooh,
do you have that somewhere?
Pretty sure I do. I'm like looking around my office trying to find it. It's downstairs. Yes, I have that book.
Have you read it yet?
No, I haven't.
I'm like 70. I think my Kindle says I'm 75% of the way through it. It's really good. You definitely should go pick it up. Like literally walk downstairs, pick it up.
I
know. But the sense of place there is really strong. It's almost as much of a character as the actual characters are.
Oh, I love that.
It's about someone has discovered the multiverse, and there's different versions of Earths. And they jump to these different versions of Earth, basically getting data on them. And you only can go there if your self has died. Like the laws of the universe won't allow two of the same person in the same universe.
Yeah.
The laws of the multiverse won't allow two of the same person in that particular universe. But they keep jumping to the same place, like their place. Like they have a city that's very technologically advanced, and very 1%. Like everybody is well taken care of. There's a lot of food. And then outside the city is another place that is very like gang controlled. Like there's not a lot of food. It's very dusty. They don't have all the technology that the city has. And in every version of Earth they go to, they're always going to this place. It never changes. The place doesn't change. The people who live in the place change a little bit. Some have died, some haven't, some have taken different routes in their life. But other than that, it doesn't change. Like this location is part of the story. Like it's very like black and white. Yeah. It's like the rich and the poor. I mean, it's very stark contrast, and it is playing a very big role in the story. About who came from where. Like you can cross over. Like someone could lose everything and have to go out to the outskirts, or someone from the outskirts could go to the city. It's not easy to do, but it has happened. And it's like comparing how one version of person did this and how one person the version did that.
That's so cool. I am really excited to read it. I mean, obviously I bought it. I was excited to read it. But I am one of those people who like, I just will buy books. Like I said, if you have 6 books in your cart, I'm just going to tell you to hit buy. So I have a lot that I haven't read yet. But I have them handy whenever I need something. So like whenever I'm feeling a particular way, I can always grab it. So I'm excited to get to that one.
I picked it up kind of on a whim. Like I don't remember when I bought it. It was on my Kindle. Apparently I had bought it, I don't know, maybe on sale or something. I don't know. But I had run out of physical books to read. Like I've just blown through like 3 books in a week.
Wow. That's awesome.
I know. I have serious reading. They were just so good. I couldn't stop reading them.
Oh, love that.
So I was like, I need something to read. So I went to Amazon. I bought 4 more, but they're not here yet. So I was like, okay, I'll just charge my Kindle, see what I have on it. I'm like,
sure,
I'll read this. I just picked it randomly. I didn't even look at the board. I'm like, okay, let's start this one.
Oh, I love that.
And it turns out it was great.
What an adventure. I love that.
It's been like 3 days, and I'm 75% of the way through it. It's a long book. It's a lot. Like, I thought it was over, and I looked down at the status bar, and I'm 40% of the way through it. Like, I thought I was coming to the climax. And at one part, I was like, what? And the other part was like, yes! Because I love, like, the story continues.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You get more time with this thing that you're enjoying.
So here's a question for you. Can you get lost in your own places?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Like I said, I really like to daydream about the settings that I want to write in or am writing in. And sometimes I intentionally get lost because then it allows me to learn the setting more. And then I will get distracted. And then sometimes my settings end up in my dreams. That has happened a couple times. And there have been times, so like lost in every way, because there have been times when I have been writing and the setting in my writing, I have gotten, like, you could see my writing veer off, like I'm getting distracted because I'm like, let's go check out this other place in this setting, and like, oh, what's going on over here? And it has like
check
nothing
out this forest
to do.
glade, see what's going on there.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second, no, the plot is over here.
Exactly. So yeah, I do get very carried away sometimes, which I think is why I'm excited to be writing like a series of short stories right now, because then it allows me to like have more flexibility on how I explore the larger setting. You know, I can kind of go off like that and it actually makes sense because it's just contained in one story. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely get lost. Do you ever get lost or distracted?
Whoa, big boom.
I loved hearing that. I miss thunder.
Yeah, I can get lost in my own places. Especially when I'm talking about like my science fiction when I'm writing. Do you know the NASA the planet series that Voyager recorded?
Yes.
Okay. I will actually play the Saturn one or the moons of Saturn one while I'm doing this, and it's very like dark and oppressive and awesome, but I'll put on like my noise canceling headphones at night when I'm working on that, and it's just I can get lost in it, but also I've noticed my writing reflects that. And I do have to go back and edit, and like suddenly I'm like, and she wanted to drop into the void of Saturn's maw and stuff, and I'm like, wait a second. That's a little
what
dark.
I was planning.
Yeah. The character's depressed, but not that much. But yeah, I can totally like that's part of the fun of writing, isn't it? Just getting lost in a world. Like I put myself in my character's shoes, and I'm standing on this frozen moon looking at the sun rising on Saturn. I can see it and I can hear it through those recordings. Yeah. And yes, I can absolutely get lost in my own stuff.
Yeah. I mean, all of us were just kids who liked to daydream. So,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like, yeah, this is like the best. I was
making up stories for a long time.
Yep. Is there a setting that you want to write in, but you haven't been able to yet?
Yeah, actually. I have an idea for a story that I've written the first couple paragraphs and just kind of put it aside, knowing that I want to write this. It's my hometown.
Yeah.
I haven't... the place I've been talking about that I'm writing isn't the place where I grew up, in the sense that this is the place where I was born, but I've been moved away from it.
Okay.
And I want to write a story in my very small, kind of backward hometown, and I have a great idea for it. I just haven't... I kind of want to say I haven't had the time for it yet, but I also just kind of haven't had the balls to do it yet. Like,
yeah,
I'm not sure I can objectively do that yet. I think I still have prejudice about things.
Yes, yeah. That was something when I took a personal writing class. It was like a nonfiction, like personal essay class in undergrad. The one thing that I really took away from that class was that you need to have a specific amount of distance from the subject matter before you can write about it effectively, because otherwise you're going to be clouded by your own emotions and
right. You're not going to be able to see the whole of the story.
Exactly.
Which sounds very pretentious, but I feel like it's true.
It's very true. Yeah. Yeah. I was actually, the follow-up question when you said hometown was, I was going to ask you, do you think that you're able to do that yet? And you answered that question.
I answered. I don't think I'm able to do that yet. I don't know when I will. I think it's just a short story, but it feels very personal because it's based off a personal experience I had and someone I knew, and I want to do them justice.
Yeah.
Kind of imaginarily following them through their day, a mentally disabled person, someone I cared about, but also this happened to me when I was a young adult / late teenager, and I was kind of callous and careless with them. And so I'm still kind of carrying that baggage.
Yeah. Yeah. The guilt and the what ifs and
like, why wasn't I nicer to this person?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was 19.
Yes,
I was an asshole. I was 19.
Amen. Yeah, that prevents me from touching on a lot of subject matter, actually.
I feel like I already know the answer to this one, but I have another question for you. And this is the last of my questions. I didn't write very many down.
Cool.
But when you're reading stories, do you prefer someone who has really written in the sense of place or left it more bare? Like, I'm saying, like, really detailed sense of place where they detail everything, or when they leave it more bare. And I feel like I already know the answer to this, but
I don't know, actually. So this is actually a hard question for me to answer, because it could be both. It's more about, weirdly, it is more about the tone. It's more about the atmosphere that is attached to the sense of place. And then, of course, the writer's style. So if it's the style of the author to write more vaguely, but they have like this really wonderful sense of atmosphere, or they've kind of really put forth like the tone of the environment that we're in, then yes, I love that. I'll roll with that. And then my imagination can play a little bit as well in that space, because they have not literally defined it as specifically by putting in all the detail, but they have provided me the atmosphere and the tone. And so then I can kind of play. But then if you've got someone who does like a lot of detail, I do enjoy that, but I don't like it when they get weighed down by the detail. I don't like it when they spend a ton of time.
You don't need to know about the grain of the wood. I'm looking at your dresser behind you, and I see the wood in. But
yeah. But I don't necessarily need to know about that. But, you know, if it depends on how the author employs that kind of thing. You know, like I think of Atonement and how there is a lot of very specific weird detail in that book. But that's one where I feel like the sense of place is so strong and the sense of setting is so strong. And it's, you know, like that's one of my favorite books, but he does add a decent amount of detail, but to me, it just never feels frivolous, or not frivolous, oppressive, or frivolous. It all feels like it matters and that it adds something.
Okay.
And I just really think it depends on the skill of the author, really, and where their strengths lie. Yeah, so I don't have like a straight answer on that one, but just out of curiosity, what did you think I would say?
I thought you were going to go with well, as I was asking the question, I realized that nobody would really quite like someone who really laid on all the detail, but I thought you were going to go with someone who really laid out their sense of place.
Well, I do really like Tolkien. Like, I do really like Lord of the Rings, and he does really lay the detail hard. So, yeah, I mean, I can enjoy that.
I think you hit it on the head where it's important when someone lays down all the detail. If someone's laying on pages and paragraphs of details that aren't important, that's when it gets bad.
Yeah, that's just bad
when all
writing,
the details are important to the story, that they further the plot or further something how the character is, then that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah. Actually, that was something about Timeline. I wish there was a little bit more detail, because I was intrigued by the setting, and it was, you know, historical fiction context, and I wanted a little bit more because I, you know, thought it would be kind of fun. But who knows how much. I know that Michael Crichton does a lot of like research for his scientific concepts. How true they are once he actually works them into his books, I don't know. But the historical setting might be more difficult to get the details down.
That's true.
Depending on who you are as a researcher and a writer, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, I think we should start wrapping this up.
Sounds good. Sorry, I was like, to the listeners, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, sounds good.
Okay, do you got a book recommendation for me this week?
You know, I feel like I mentioned
a lot of stuff.
Books, but I will say, no, you know what? I'm going to save it. I mentioned a lot of books today. How about you? You got one?
I do. Well, I have one written down, and I'm just going to go for it. It's not a book, per se. It's an online comic.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Yeah. It's Darth and Droids. Have you heard of it?
I have not.
It's a really fun concept. It's someone who has, well, it's a pair of someone. I think it's two friends out of Australia. And they've taken all the Star Wars movies and screen capped and screenshot them, and then made up characters doing a Dungeons and Dragons situation. Like, there's Jim and there's Ben to start with, and they start with episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
And then there's the DM, and they're talking, and like it kind of takes things out of context, but it's really funny to see the characters and how they try to push it through the movies, but the story just goes off in wild directions. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And they've done all the way up to, I think, the first of the new trilogy, and they've done both the side ones, Rogue One and the Han Solo one.
Yeah, this sounds
hysterical,
wonderful.
and I love them. You can go to their website, and instead of having to read them page by page, you can download the whole like episode 1 and just read them by pictures instead of having to like reload the website to get to the next one. Mm-hmm. But they're great. They're my recommendation. It's not quite a book, but it will take you as long to read as a book.
Of course, yeah,
if not longer.
And as a huge Star Wars and D&D fan, this is a must for me, I think.
You should check it out.
I will.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Perfect.
You can check it out. I've downloaded them all to my iPad, and I dropped them for a while just because I don't know, I got busy. I had 2 kids. I couldn't read them anymore. So I went over and I started over, and I'm just laughing at some of like the old jokes. Like there's it starts with the 2 Jedi and the Phantom Menace, and those are the 2 original players, Jim and Ben, and they keep saying like they're focused on what they were as a D&D character. He's like, and the DM's like, no, this is a science fiction story. You're not mages. You're druids, basically. But one of the characters, Jim, keeps forgetting that he's not a mage. He's like, I cast summon bigger fish.
Oh my god!
It's an inside joke, but it makes me laugh. And they keep bringing up the summon bigger fish throughout the other episodes. He's like, cast summon bigger fish.
It's so good.
It's hilarious. Like there's like inside jokes inside this joke.
Oh, I like that, because then it makes you feel like you're included and you're part of the community.
You get the joke.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Well, it's very good. You should check it out when you have time to read something frivolous.
I know. It might be something I can read like at the reference desk at work if I have like a few minutes of downtime. Something
it's
I can
basically like
click through.
What they post is like 1 page of a comic book, and it's broken out and they've got speech bubbles and everything. So it's very easy to read.
Perfect.
Okay. So we're going to put all our notes and examples in the show notes as usual. Jocelyn named like 12 dozen books, so I'll look them all up and give you links to all of them.
Godspeed.
So catch us next Wednesday when we're going to talk about
ideas outside our comfort zone.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I get a lot of those, and then I can't follow up on them because I just don't know what to do with them.
I cannot wait to hear about it.
All right. So until then, stay safe.
Keep reading.
Keep writing.
And go do what you do best, folks. And I want to know what that is. So if you do something best, please let us know. Hit us up on social media or email us or whatever. I want to know what you do best.
What do you do best, Jocelyn?
Oh no. Oh God. What do I do best? Well, I've had friends tell me that I get stuff done, and they appreciate that about me, and that I am a good talker. I might do other things best. I make chocolate chip cookies best. I make very good chocolate chip cookies. So I'll say that.
Okay. Well, then I have
what
to
do you do best?
Say, well, I know I plan. I'm a planner, and I'm good at it. My idea of relaxation is planning. But also, I make the best chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate chip cookie off. Chocolate chip cookie off.
When you let me know when you come up, and I will make you try my chocolate chip cookies, and you will agree
excited.
They are the best.
Well, I've gotten 3 marriage proposals out of my chocolate chip cookies, so we'll find out. You might be down on one knee proposing marriage to me.
I smoke my butter.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't do anything fancy.
I make really good chocolate chip cookies.
I am excited to try them. Yeah.
Okay. You let me know when you're coming up. I will have some ready for you.
Oh, I will. Absolutely.
And you have to bring some up too. We have to like compare now.
Okay. Yeah, we will. Sorry, listeners, you can't have any.
We should do an episode where we're, like, just in the same house, just eating a cookie, like, I can taste notes of caramel and pecan.
Just making everybody angry.
Like, really loud, crunchy noises into the microphone. Oh my God, we totally have to do this now. Bring your microphone with you, Jocelyn.
Oh my God. Sorry, everyone. Look at this hellscape we've created for you.
Oh my God. Okay. I gotta go. I'm gonna pee my pants.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy that storm up there.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.